Radiofrequency ablation for chronic joint pain is a fairly common treatment that is used to desensitize painful joints and alleviate some forms of chronic pain. One of the commonest joints that is treated is the facet joint. Facet joint pain syndrome, facet joint pain treatment is what we're going to be talking about today. How do you treat lumbar facet pain or facet joint pain? Well, we've already discussed how you diagnose facet joint pain. There is a clinical history. There is a clinical examination. You combine the history, you combine the examination, you have some expertise, you follow some research, and you say, right, I believe this is a facet joint mediated pain. The next step is to use diagnostic medial branch blocks, which we've discussed. Sometimes scans can help, SPECT CT scans, MRI scans, plain CT scans, sometimes even x-rays, sometimes they can help. They generally don't diagnose the facet joints as the pain. They help define whether there are other causes of pain that might need to be addressed. Disc pathology, fractures, disc prolapses, and other more sinister causes. Generally not the case. The way to diagnose facet joint pain, as mentioned, is to do diagnostic facet joint medial branch blocks. So if you have a look on the left-hand side, you can see the L5-S1 facet joint, which is there, the L4-5 facet joint, which is there, and the L3-4 facet joint, which is up there. You can see three dark needles, and they are placed where we believe the medial branch to be. And you can see these little black splodges, which is effectively the use of contrast. So we inject a little bit of contrast, which is a liquid that shows up on X-ray, as you can see, and it needs to stay in the area we injected. It shouldn't run away into another area. It shouldn't be taken up by a blood vessel. It needs to stay where we put it, because then we absolutely know the next thing that we inject down there will stay in that region, and that is local anesthetic. Interestingly, you can see that there is an L4-5 fusion. You can see a cage, and you can see some screws. So this person has had an L5-S1 fusion. And sometimes fusions, while they may be useful, they can change the mechanics of the facet joints and trigger facet-mediated pain. So that may be what happened. That may be what is happening in this picture. And that's why this person has received diagnostic medial branch blocks. Have a look at the diagram on the right, or the picture on the right-hand side. You can see the tram tracks. You can see the needles, and the needles are slightly different, aren't they? They're slightly bigger. And they look like they've got something on the edge of the needle, on the end of the needle. It looks like a little prong. So let's have a look at that in a little more detail. You can see the L4-5 facet joint. In fact, you can't really see it very well, can you? There's not a clear line compared to the facet joint above. So there may be a little bit of fluffiness, a bit of inflammation, degeneration around that facet joint, which may be why there is pain. And similarly, the L5-S1 facet joint, you can see the same thing. You can almost see the tram track line, but there's quite a lot of fluffiness around it. And again, this might be why that is triggering pain. And you can see the ends of the needles on those three spots, above and at. So to anesthetize two facet joints, you need to put in three needles, one above, one at, and one below the lower facet joint. That's just the technical approach, but effectively that's what a radiofrequency of a facet joint looks like on X-ray. Let's talk about radiofrequency neurotomy, sometimes called radiofrequency ablation. That's what it looks like. There are a number of needles through the skin focused on the medial branch nerves. So let's have a look at that in a little more detail. This is a treatment for facet joint pain. So what is radiofrequency neurotomy? Well, effectively what it is the application of heat through the end of a needle once the needle is placed in the appropriate location. You can see on the left-hand side there are a number of different needles, sometimes big needles, thin needles, long needles, short needles. The needle tip is connected to a radio frequency machine that we can control, and the radio frequency machine is connected to the needle via a probe that is connected into the machine and then into the needle. And as you can see from the front of that radio frequency machine, there are locations for 4 probes, so we can treat we can focus treatment on 4 needles at a time. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because to desensitize one facet joint, you need 2 needles, because you have 2 medial branches that you need to focus on. And of course, sometimes there's more than one facet joint to treat at a time. So have a look now. You can see there are different types of needles, and the different types of needles allow us to focus different types of treatments in different parts of the body on different nerves. As pain specialists or doing these procedures, it is very important, and this absolutely allows us to provide the best treatments for some of the people we treat. So have a look there. That needle is straight, it's got a sharp tip. That needle is bent, it's got a sharp tip. That needle is bent, it's got a blunt tip. These different needles have different properties, and these different properties allow us to provide different treatments or different radio frequency treatments. In the middle, you can see these tiny little prongs that have popped out of the needle. And as you can see, if there's a certain prong and you apply heat to that area, it gives you a slightly bigger, what we call lesion, a bigger treatment, which means if we put this treatment next to a nerve, or the needle next to a nerve, and we apply heat to the needle, the heat is transferred onto the nerve. If you apply a bigger area of heat, you're more likely to get a better outcome, a better effect. I just wanted to give you a sense of how we go about providing treatments. And as you can see, just focus on the diagram in the middle. As you can see, the needles are on a piece of flesh, perhaps a piece of chicken or something. And when you apply heat to the end of the needle, you can see this white area around the needle, so we can measure the area of lesion, which allows us to give the best outcomes for some of these treatments. This is the technical details that we as pain specialists can sometimes go into. And as you can see from the diagram on the top, there are different types of needles. So a fatter needle gives you a better lesion than a thinner needle. A longer needle gives you a better lesion than a shorter needle. That's a short fat needle you can see over there, gives you a certain lesion that we can measure. If you've got a similar lesion, a similar needle in width, but a longer needle, you can get a different lesion. And of course, you can see at different temperatures, you can get different lesions as well. Now, sometimes we talk about monopolar radiofrequency, which is at the top, and you can see that's just using a single pole, a single needle. Sometimes we choose to use bipolar radiofrequency, where we put 2 needles next to each other. We connect the needle tips electrically, and then we provide the current, or we pass the current between the needle tips, and that, you can see, provides quite a big lesion. So in some cases, we might choose to use a bipolar radiofrequency paradigm, as we call it. So as mentioned, the way you diagnose facet-mediated pain is you perform facet joint-mediated medial branch blocks. And as you can see on the diagram on the left, you've got the 2 needles focusing on the medial branch above the L45 facet joint, and you've got the needle below the L45 facet joint focusing on the medial branch at that level. So the L3 medial branch nerve is required. You need to focus on the L3 medial branch nerve. You need to focus on the L4 medial branch nerve to anesthetize the L45 facet joint. So the treatment, as mentioned, of facet-mediated pain is a lumbar radiofrequency ablation, radiofrequency neurotomy of the medial branch nerve of that correlating joint or joints. And as you can see the diagram on the left, it looks odd, the spine, doesn't it? Now, it doesn't mean that's the pain, but it might very well be associated with the pain. You can see 3 needles. They're quite big needles. They don't appear to have any tined prongs out of the needles. You can certainly see that pedicle, which is quite dark and difficult to discern, quite dark and black and fluffy compared to the other side. So perhaps that facet joint is the cause of pain. Now remember, if I wanted to anesthetize that facet joint, which is possibly the 2-3 facet joint, I need to anesthetize the medial branch and above that and the medial branch at that level. And similarly for the facet joint below that. So that's just the minutiae, the nomenclature of what we're talking about, but effectively it's quite a technical treatment. Similarly on the right hand side, you've seen this diagram before, 3 tined, quite large needles focusing on 3 medial branches to anesthetize 2 facet joints and provide a radiofrequency neurotomy to those facet joints. So what about treatment risks? Like anything, it comes with risk. There may be risk in not doing something. There may be risk of doing nothing. That may have an effect on the patient. There may be a risk of a medication. There may be a risk of an injection, a diagnostic injection and a therapeutic injection. So whenever we talk to somebody about a treatment, you have to define pros and cons. You have to define good and bad. You have to define what you would do if you don't provide a treatment, or what you would do if you do provide a treatment. So let's talk about the risks. Like anything, a radiofrequency ablation, you put a needle in the body, there is a risk of trauma to the tissue. There's a risk of trauma to the tissue through which the needle passes. If the needle passes in the wrong trajectory, you can get some bruising, bleeding, swelling, inflammation. If the needle tip is placed in the wrong location and you provide a radiofrequency, you may provide a radiofrequency to the wrong area, and that clearly can be can have some side effects, particularly if you do a radiofrequency, say, to the incorrect nerve or nerves. So you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to have a technical approach to this, and you've got to follow strict guidance, strict guidelines on how to do these treatments, like anything in medicine. One of the main treatment risks I wanted to bring to your attention, particularly with the lumbar region, is the medial branch nerve is not only a sensory nerve, but it does have a motor component, which means that it is responsible for some motor function of some muscles nearby. And those are called the multifidus muscles. So therefore, if somebody has a medial branch radiofrequency, one might say as well, if I desensitize that nerve, won't I get weak muscles in that area? And the answer is likely yes. There is a risk of weakness in that area. There is a risk of weakness to what we call the multifidus muscle, and you can see the diagram on the left-hand side. You can see that long multifidus muscle. Now, it's an important spinal stabilizer, as we call it, but there are many other muscles in that area that also provide stability to the spine. So in days gone by, we used to be okay anesthetizing the medial branch nerve, doing a radiofrequency of the medial branch nerve, and getting some potential multifidus muscle weakness. Nowadays, we understand that the multifidus muscle might be a factor in this, and actually a factor and cause of chronic back pain. So we've devised different techniques to perform radiofrequency to reduce that risk of multifidus weakness. So have a look at the diagram on the right-hand side, and you can see the needles are placed not where the medial branch nerves are, but actually on the joint itself. And now we've devised ways of performing a radiofrequency to the facet joints without compromising the multifidus muscle, and that's called a capsulorrhaphy, or a radiofrequency of the capsule of the facet joint. So we're always growing, we're always learning, we're always changing our techniques. So if I've got somebody that's pretty young and they are at risk of getting multifidus weakness with a radiofrequency neurotomy, but they require radiofrequency neurotomy, I might opt to not do a radiofrequency neurotomy of the facet joint medial branch nerves. I might do a radiofrequency neurotomy of the facet joint capsule, which can also provide pain reduction, but not at the expense of muscle weakness. You can see the 3 joints that have been focused on with 3 separate needles, and the needles are on the capsule of the joint, thereby not focusing on the medial branch nerve, thereby reducing the risk of multifidus weakness. Now, like anything in medicine, we need to be guided by evidence, we need to be guided by worldly expertise and current research and science out there. So there are guidelines out there that can help us to define the correct patient for this treatment, the correct techniques for this treatment, to limit side effects and maximize outcomes. Lastly, looking at outcomes of facet joint pain, one of the things we must focus on, or one of the things that patients ask us a lot of, is how long is this treatment going to last for? And whilst my clinical expertise or somebody else's clinical expertise is only the clinician of one or a group of clinicians, it's important to be guided by the evidence so that we can tell people that we're about to treat what the likelihood of this treatment being successful is. The studies have shown that facet joint radiofrequency may provide improvements in pain, so reduction in pain, improvements in function, and also reduction in pain medications, analgesic use, for a number of years. This study that I direct you to says that there was clinically significant improvements in those metrics that I've just mentioned for up to 3 years. Really, if a patient is proactive, if a patient is exercising, if a patient is managing themselves with appropriate medications, the likelihood is of a facet joint treatment to last anything from 6 months to a year to multiples of years. I can absolutely give you clinical stories of patients where they've got 2-3 years of facet joint radiofrequency, and sometimes even 4 or 5 years. They are those patients that are working hard at themselves, they're getting fitter, they're getting stronger, they're using this area, or they're using this block of analgesia to get themselves from a functional level down here to a functional level up here. So it is possible to use a radiofrequency ablation to provide intermediate and sometimes long-term pain control, which will aid function, which will aid rehabilitation, which will aid medication management. I hope that's been informative.